section.
Easy, what's good?
What's going on?
How are you today?
Doing well. Coming from, at the time I was in North Carolina, and in the 90s, like North Carolina was kind of like the last stop for like the Eastern cats and stuff, you know what I mean? Like they would come down, but like North Carolina, that'd be about it, you know what I mean? So there was a lot of, I guess North Carolinians kind of took a lot of their cues from East Coast hip hop, and then obviously you had the West Coast, Def Jam and all that stuff. I mean, God, Def Jam, Death Row, and all that stuff over there. And so you had that influence, and then you had Master P as well, because he was starting to do his thing. So like when I was in high school, right before coming to Atlanta, like Master P was becoming very big or popular. Because I think Ghetto D had already come out and some other things, and I didn't really mess with P at the time. I didn't like that kind of rap. I was more on, I guess you would say, backpacker rap, that kind of stuff. Like Raucous Records was big to me, and most of that stuff. But in 1998 and 99 and 96 and all that stuff. 96, I don't know if there was really a backpacker scene. It was just rap.
Which, like, now that I think back, it sounds, in terms of hip hop, this is almost ancient times. It's like this golden era is so far, so much happened since then. And it's not that
Definitely.
For many years, it was just those big names and big players that, or at least like what we got from over here. And then it exploded and went like exponential. And I can't keep up with everything that happens today. It's, the moment I realize someone is big, like, I found out about J. Cole and Kendrick. By the time they were already like big stars, and almost, Kendrick went into his hiatus, so yeah.
Wait, so what year is this for you?
15,
like To Pimp a Butterfly?
15, 16. Around 16, I think 16, I found out like, oh, there's an interesting,
okay.
There's an interesting guy. This Kendrick seems to know, like, he has interesting music, and he was already established.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think Kendrick. Oh man, it was Look Out for Detox. It was a video. One of my friends posted a video on Facebook, and it was the Look Out for Detox video. Have you ever seen that?
Flow crack rock like bam bam, nigga have 2 grams, nigga pay up, blah blah, nigga had a black Camry, broke a dipset, killer cam, nigga had a...
It's I think it came out probably in 2000. Shit, I don't want to lie. 2011 or 10 maybe. It was before Section 80 came out. So I guess 2011 or something like that. And anyway, like, look out for Detox, because Dr. Dre is always supposed to be releasing that Detox album. And so that was the name of it. And I was like, damn, this motherfucker can rap. And ever since then, I was pretty much a fan of Kendrick. Like, I saw him live here in Atlanta in 2012, I think.
Crazy. No, that's crazy. I definitely wasn't hip.
Well, how were you finding out about stuff? Like, I guess, were you like looking at blogs and stuff? Because, back, I guess there was a blog rap era, like in 2009, 2010, because basically that's how a lot of rap was being curated. It was, you had these various blogs like 2dopeboys.com and other ones where, you would go there and, find out about new stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, to be completely honest with you, no, I wasn't educating myself in this regard. I was just listening to Adlib all that time, literally. Uh, didn't even expand into other artists. For Knowledge is someone who I just a few years back found out about, and him being such a powerhouse of production since day one. It's like literally, like, I probably shouldn't even talk about this. Yeah.
Well, actually, no, you're fine because I don't. I probably know more knowledge stuff than I know that I know.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't I haven't really sought them out. But it's interesting that you say that because I just on Friday stumbled on a sample that he used in a song called 100 Bottles, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's random that you would have mentioned him.
How do you, talking of bottles, shout out to your choice of brews. That's I like what you drink, the ales, and that you seem to enjoy like
IPAs.
IPAs, and
yeah, definitely IPA, man.
Yeah, that's dope. And how did you find out about the
run for your guns, me and son coming through. Rock you and your crew, fuck the boys in blue.
Knowledge used the sample? Is because you randomly heard the track, or do you look this up somehow?
Yeah, so once I find something that I think I'm gonna think about using,
Mm-hmm.
I always kind of look it up. So I always go to like who sampled, just to see like who else has used this. And normally I would not listen to what they did. If I was going to use a sample, I would probably not listen to what they did. In this case, I was kind of like on the fence about whether or not I should use it. I was like, let me just hear it. And so I heard it. And it's like a short track for him. I think it's like the interlude, basically, like 42 seconds or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was like, all right, I'll use it now.
It's interesting that you mentioned who sampled, because I actively avoid that website for the reason of I don't want to spoil to spoil a sample for me. If I found it, it's mine.
Right, to not be influenced or contaminated by what they did.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's normally why I'll completely just avoid it. But in this case, I was like, this is only one. And, who's to say somebody else hasn't used it? I'm sure somebody else has used it somewhere. And it just hasn't been uploaded to who sampled and whatever. But, I personally haven't heard it, at least not that I know of. So it's good enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
If I haven't heard it and then who sampled doesn't have anything on there, then I'm going to go for it.
And how do you pick? So it's like, is it a random process?
Yeah, so I like digital. I do have records. I got vinyl. I got like 2 turntables over there, but I'm digital. So I just go down rabbit holes and just keep on going further and further down there just to see. I mean, I couldn't even tell you some people that I've sampled. I literally could not pronounce their names or anything to tell you who it was if I wanted to. So,
well, first of all, their names are in
like
Arabic.
Some Japanese group
or Japanese.
It's like some Japanese group. Yeah, it's like I don't know. Like I don't know how to say whatever that is.
And that's dope. Does YouTube algorithm work for you in that regard? Like, did it catch up?
Oh no, I don't. It's not YouTube. I don't use YouTube for
okay.
I used to like a long time ago, back in like 2000. I think when I first got my Maschine, so 2012, I would find stuff on YouTube. But yeah, now Spotify has everything. You know what I mean? So
okay.
Not everything, but Spotify has a lot of things. So you just have to be willing to to listen. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so my job does allow me to be like a passive listener. So I don't do it every day at my job. There's definitely times where I don't listen. I'm not looking for samples. I'm just listening to other stuff. But there are other times where I can just go down those rabbit holes at work passively for hours and be like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. I mean, all I have to do is like it, right?
So,
and then I can come back to it and then be like, and see if there's something there or not.
And I have an impression that Spotify's algorithm is better as well than YouTube's in terms of recommendations or suggestions.
But mine's a little bit more active because, like, I don't creating a playlist based on these tracks or whatever. Like, I'm kind of, it's done now because I've been doing this for 2017, 18, I believe. So like most of the stuff that it would come up with, like I've definitely already heard or whatever. So
okay.
I now have to like go down like actively and kind of go down. There's not to say I can't randomly be surprised by something, because it definitely happens like on your daily mix or whatever. There'll definitely be something that'll lead me down another tangent. But most of the time now there has to usually be some kind of like active, okay, let me go this way.
And then you take it to Maschine, or?
Yeah. And then so I can sample anything that my computer hears, I can sample. So sample it right there and in Maschine and go from there.
What is your workflow? Like, how do you, so you sample stuff into Maschine, I guess. And then do you start with the chops, or do you get yourself a breakdown?
So now I have a weird kind of, it's evolved, right? And it's always changing. So before, what I would do, and I'd say this is probably a year ago this time, I would sample into Maschine and kind of chop it in Maschine, and then try to find like the groove, whatever groove it is, then add some drums. Now, because I have Ableton and I have Serato sample, I'll sample into Maschine, kind of see if I come up with a loop or something, just a Maschine, just by playing it out, won't really chop it. And then I'll maybe look for another track too, and to sample something else. And then I'll just look for another track until I find the one that I really like. And then from there, I'll kind of make a decision on, well, do I want to put this in Ableton or not? So for me right now, I'm kind of making a decision. I'm making a decision at the sampling part. Like, am I going into Ableton or not? Because if I'm going into Ableton, then let me just save the sample and then go and open Ableton now and start working. If not, I'm gonna stay in Maschine and do it here. And so part of the difference that's come up recently is Serato sample. To me, there's a degradation that occurs when you put a sample into Serato sample, at least compared to what it sounds like just coming out of Maschine.
Okay. Sonically, you mean like literally?
Yeah, like there's a difference. Like there's something that I can hear.
Okay.
And maybe it's not a degradation. Maybe it's just different. But to me, because I've had Maschine since 2012, like it's just different, and it doesn't sound the same or as bright or as good. So now sometimes I'm making the decision, depending on how much chopping of the sample I'm going to do, whether or not just to do it in Maschine, and then maybe take that and export it into Ableton. Like, I haven't gotten the Maschine to Ableton flow yet, Like I kind of make a decision to go one way or the other. So yeah, I haven't really done too much of trying to make a whole bunch of Maschine and then putting that into Ableton. Instead, I'll just open up Ableton, do the work in there, and just do everything in Ableton.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that was actually a question, that whether you combine those two, but it looks like it's a strategic decision early on that you stay in Maschine. And given that you are rocking Maschine for 10 years, it's probably all muscle memory by now. It's just the speed is probably very different in how you work in the Maschine.
It is. And so I think, I'm some ways I a little mad that I didn't get push, because I think I could do what I can do in Maschine. I know I could do in Ableton what I can do in Maschine with push, and do even more because it's Ableton. But at the same time, it's like, do I need another controller just to move things around? You know what I mean? So, I am a little disappointed that I didn't get push, but at the same time, I'm getting by, because I would still have to learn how to make push work with Ableton, and that still would have been a little learning curve.
Definitely. Why did you make the decision that early to go with Maschine back then?
You wanna come test? Son, it's massive stress.
There's a dude that I know that's in a group called Collective Efforts. It's like an Atlanta, I guess they're an underground rap group. And he was randomly posted on Facebook, like in 2012, like a Maschine. I was like, what the hell? I was like, I'd never seen one. And I was like, what the hell is that? Because before that I was using Reason. I had like Reason 3. And I have a Trident LE, and so I was using, like, there's stuff that I made like sequence with 100% within a Trident LE. But anyway, so I had Reason, so I saw that, and I've always wanted an MPC, but an MPC is, $1,200, or at the time like $1,200 or whatever. So in fact, when I got my Trident LE, there was a decision to make between, like, do you spend $1,200 to get the Trident LE, or you spend $1,200 to get like an MPC? And at the time, I just reasoned that it makes more sense to have keys than it did to have just 16 pads. So I was like, all right, let me just get this Trident LE, and so that's how I got that. Yeah. So anyway, I saw somebody post. He posted, the Maschine, like something he did on the Maschine. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then I started just researching it, and and around that time, like the MK2 was just coming out, like the white one or whatever with the colors. So I was like, oh yeah, let me check this out, because I had a computer already, and it's only like $500 only, but it's $500. So I was like, yeah, let me try that out. And yeah, I liked it a lot, and now I have the 3. But I like Maschine a lot. It is very quick. You can you can get down pretty quick once you know how to use it.
Yeah, it definitely has a very specific workflow, a different workflow from MP or Ableton as such. The scenes, I like the scene approach. It changed?
Yeah, and it's changed just with the different versions too, like from the way you used to use it. I don't know when it changed over. I don't know if it was sometime in the 2 series, but like the scene, when they added clips. And so when they added that, it changed a little bit how it works, at least with the arrangement view and stuff like that. But yeah, I like it. You can do what they advertise that it can do. And it's one of those few things that I've bought, where it's like, oh, okay. I see. Yeah, you can actually do what that guy was doing on whatever ad or whatever video I watched. You can actually do that on this thing.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like you got the complete control as well, right? The
Yeah.
keys. So it's a nice combination to have. A complete control is nice keyboard.
I get the paper, so I don't care.
The immediacy of switching kits and packs that you just can basically scroll through them and play them. That is very unusual to like MP can't do this. You need to load, unload. That's too much friction.
Right.
How do you pick drums? How do you like once you have your loop? Do you what's the move with the drums? Do you have like your favorite kits or?
So up until recently, well, a year ago, I'd say I didn't use templates.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just start basically from scratch, maybe 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd have the sample, and that's all I had, and then I would just start looking for drums. But to your point, there are a lot of kits in Maschine, and I do have some of the expansion packs and stuff like that where you can kind of like, okay, this kind of the sound I think I want. But then I got like stolen drums, slappy drums and all that stuff, and other random drums I've just had for years.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of go through them because I do remember those days of kind of like you said, like before the immediacy of Maschine, like you had to go and find some snare somewhere, so Maschine makes it pretty easy to like the audition stuff, like browse through them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not a big deal, and you kind of just know where stuff is, and after a while, after you've seen and played with it enough, you're kind of like, okay, this is kind of what I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But now I do have like a few kits. Like I do have a template that comes up on Maschine. I don't have a template in Ableton yet. So in Ableton, I do have to kind of just load up from scratch whatever I'm going to do. But yeah, I mean, I'll just kind of click through and try to find that snare or that bass drum or whatever it is, the hi-hat. Just go from there. But for me, it's it's very rare that I start with the drums. Like it's sample first, and even if I'm playing something, I don't play stuff out too much anymore. But even when I was playing stuff, it was usually like I got to find some kind of groove first before I did the drums.
Shout out to you. That's refreshing to have that. I mean, it's to me there is a difference in both approaches, and therefore I value both of them. There are like times for each one of them. It's just like I also feel that you get a different groove out of the sample if you start with the sample, and if it doesn't work, sometimes loading up drums or making a pattern and then trying again. This is something like I do sometimes when I hit a wall with a sample, but I know there is like there is potential there. I just haven't unlocked it yet. So
I
don't know. Part of it is because I was never really that good with drums. So I was like, that's going to play the background. So it's more because that's not really what I hear. Like, I don't really hear bass. The drums are not drums and bass are not things that I hear. I mean, I know them. I sonically hear them. I know that they exist, but when I hear a beat, that's not what I hear.
That's cool. That's interesting.
I always hear like I guess the main part of the song.
Does anything pop to your mind that you would call your, like some production thing that is very yours?
No, because I'm pretty much pulling from everywhere. So I can't say that there's anything that's just that I would say is unique to me. I would say where I'm grabbing samples, where I'm looking, what I'm going to use. The fact that I'm resistant to use something that I know has been used before, eventually is going to put me in a very tight box, I think, but maybe not. I mean, there's infinite music out there, right? You can't listen to it all. So, but I think that is kind of what separates me, because I have listened to a lot of music, and since going down this road of doing what I'm doing, looking for samples, I'm only listening to more, right? And so I think that might be something that's quote unquote unique to my style, would be where I'm looking and what I'm using.
Well, this rabbit holing does sound very definitely very different, how people draw samples, how they pick, and how much time they put into going deeper. So not taking that 70s krautrock, but going 3 levels down the krautrock rabbit hole, and then the one that you can't pronounce, that one.
Right.
I've gotta love.
Right.
We'll get there.
And it's just because it sounded good, like not because it's rare or whatever. It's just because that's the one that I heard that sounded good.
Okay.
It's like I don't necessarily. It doesn't have to be rare necessarily, but if it's more common, then it's more likely to have been sampled or used before, right? But yeah, I mean, if it's dope, it's dope. I don't really care what genre it is, and that's how it is with me, just in music in general. Like some of these things that I sample, like I listen to, like they're like now come up on some of my favorite tracks, like as far as Spotify is concerned, just because like they're legitimately dope. Then some other ones, like, nope, it was just that part to me anyway. You know what I mean? It was just that 5 seconds or 10 seconds. But other ones were like, oof. And then there's some where I won't even sample it. I'm just like, that one's just really dope. Like, what am I gonna do to to that or with that? But that comes and goes, because there are other ones where it's like, if you just loop this part, it's really dope. You know what I mean? But what did you really do to that? Nothing. So why is that different than this one? Well, I don't know, but it's different.
What do you do? What is your go-to when you have your loop to either mask it, or basically it's the most common thing that you do to a sample in terms of processing?
I guess it'd be the chopping a little bit, but sometimes I just loop a little bit. Like, I do like a good loop if it's dope. And so it really depends on what the sample is, but I'll probably make 2. I have a low pass and a high pass version. That'll probably happen. But as far as masking, not too much. But this kind of all plays into the fact that I'm not like really selling stuff, right? And so I feel like it kind of gives me a little bit more freedom for now, right? Because like it doesn't matter, right? I'm not worried about somebody coming knocking on my door because there's nothing to get, because I'm not, selling this, or trying to make a profit off of this. So I have that freedom that I can do more than I think I would if I'm a producer and, I need to use less of this, or hide this in some way as to not have to, I don't know, get clearance or whatever.
I mean, I asked this less because of the clearance or like the legal reasoning is not that important. It's just interesting what people do to samples almost automatically, because I have a feeling that people develop certain habits, you know, when you have a, I don't know, putting a chorus, or slapping a low pass over everything, having like this one thing that you almost automatically pull into your session and do almost automatically.
And I don't, there's a lot of, I don't have a lot of that, because for up until, I would say really up until Sidechain,
that's the kind of world we live in. It's so fucked up, man.
I didn't plan and don't plan much out. And so like, and there's a lot of things I just don't do with beats like that. I didn't care about mixing and all that. That's not what I really got into. Right. So for me, it was like, oh, that's dope, and let's just go, you know, like with whatever it is. So I didn't really have to, I didn't concern myself with what compression does or did. And that, I mean, I kind of had a idea of what reverb did. I mean, you twist knobs and do all that stuff. Eventually you're gonna kind of see what it does, but it's different when you kind of know. It's different when you know, right? I do this to this extent, this is going to happen, versus what's happening to this. Oh, that's kind of what's happening, right? You know what I mean? Because you don't know. And I mean, even now, there's all kinds of things. I have all kinds of different things that I don't know what they do, that I've just had, you know, various plugins and things. Like, will I figure out what it does? I don't know. Maybe one day I'll figure it out, but I don't really care. For me, it's like, that's going to get in the way of me making this dope little loop, right? Because for me, it started from that sample that I heard. So how do I get that playing again? I need to hear that again. I don't need to worry about all that other crap, you know, that I barely know what it does. You know,
does it also mean you're not heavy on VSTs in general? So do you just use this?
So
stock?
a lot of my stuff was stock. A lot of my through 2000, I would say to 2017, a lot of my stuff was basically just like stock. Then here and there, you know, like I know what a delay. I mean, I know what delay is. You know, there's times you use things, but now, yeah, there's definitely like plugins being used with intent instead of let me put this on and see what it does. There are definitely things that I put on now, and more so on the master, I guess, to make it louder, just brighter, cleaner. Because in the beginning, all my stuff just was never loud enough, you know. And then, like, no matter what I did, like, it was never like loud. And it was because I wasn't using plugins and I didn't understand what the hell that stuff did. But it was just, never loud enough, you know.
And which one is your current favorite? Like, do you have this thing that you rock heavily?
I would say the thing that is probably, I can see the biggest difference, I would say Master Desk is like, that makes a serious difference.
To the overall like, mix?
Sound, yeah, just the overall everything. I was like, oh. I was like, really? I was like, I'm sure there's another way to get to this point, but are you like, are we serious? Like, this is all it takes to make it sound like a little brighter. So, you know, I play my beats and stuff because you know, that's what I'm doing this for. And you play it in your car or whatever, and then you like something else comes on after. It's like, well, no, what the hell just happened? You know what I mean? Even stuff that's like from 1996 or whatever, stuff that was made like on a DAT and stuff. I'm like, wait a second, how is this, you know, possible? You know, professional studio, all that still, right? It's like, how come theirs is so much freaking louder and just fuller, brighter than this? I'm at the, I know, I'm peaking, I'm at the line. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't understand. Like, why is this not there
Mhm.
or even close? So yeah, I would say Master Desk has made a big difference in the fullness, and then just an understanding and appreciation of how things should sit and where they belong.
Mhm.
And yeah, just gradually having a better appreciation for mixing without spending a lot of time mixing, if that makes sense. Just kind of knowing or having appreciation. I still suck at it. So, but just having an appreciation like, oh, okay, this should kind of be down here. This should be up here. You should pan this a little bit over here,
Mhm. Mhm.
just simple things that you take for granted, like things I never even thought about. Like it was, I don't know if I saw it on the internet or if it was a sidechain conversation or somewhere, but somebody was like, yeah, like a drum set isn't just all set up straight ahead. If you look at a drum set, like the snare drum's over here, the hi-hats over here, so that's kind of how I do my drums now. Like just when I pan them a little bit, I just do it kind of like, all right, yeah, the snares over there a little bit. So little things like that.
Which is those all-time classics with filtering, panning, leveling.
Right.
I just something that you can hear it all day long, and still it takes years to get to the point of, yeah, let's actually pan shit out a bit. I've been doing this for a while now. I'll give it a try.
Right.
And
not just doing like dramatic pans, because when I first started, it was just like, oh, I'm just going to have it go all the way from, far left to far right. It's just going to sweep like incessantly, like back in the Pro Tools days. You can like little triangles just going all over the place. Oh, it's going to be so cool. It's just going to go left to right. But I mean, that's all part of the learning process. So.
One big shout out to you for having this photo in your Instagram of drums on the brick. As she mentioned it in a few sessions ago, that he would lift the SP on a brick, and then you have it in the timeline. Which
That's like an old show. Yeah, that's that's back in the day. That was 2016 or 17, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is this also like the connection, how you got to know him? And then
I think how he talks on Sidechain about the algorithm and how he picked the demographic and Facebook and all that stuff. Like whenever it was, like in 2016, it worked because it got to me, right? And I think at first I didn't realize that he was from the Atlanta area. And so I was watching some of just like the random like beats and chill videos. Like even before there were beats and chill videos, I think they were just like him making beats. And it would just come on like randomly. Like he would just like randomly pose. I'd be like, all right, let me just check this out. This little live, whatever this is. So through those, I saw you having a show, and I actually don't live far from where that show was. So for me, it was just like, me and my friend were at my house. I was like, hey, you want to pop over there? Like, oh, let's walk down there. I mean, I can literally walk there. So, I was like, yeah. So we just went down there to see him. Like I was going to see him. I didn't know him at all. But I was like, oh, he makes dope beats. Let's go see, what's going on. So we just went.
And then
so that happened. And so, yeah. And then I just, I just followed him continually, like on Facebook, just, like everybody else, whatever, just for whenever these live sets came up. And then when Sidechain came about, I'd already bought Slappy Drums 1 and 2. I guess it had already come out by that time. And then Sidechain came out. So yeah, I don't care. For me, it was just about support, right? Because to do was make him dope beats, and shit, he got me. You know what I mean? I was like, I like this shit. So I was like, hey, yeah, shit, I'll support his cause. And I knew he was doing the controllerized thing, and I just couldn't make, like, I got a job. You know, my birthday was last week. I'm 42, and I couldn't be out and about. You know, when controllerized was popping, like on a Monday or whatever days, I couldn't. You know, I can't be out there like that. So there was kind of like my way, especially during the pandemic. I was like, let me help. You know, let me support. And so as soon as it came out, like, yeah, I'll join Sidechain. And then I didn't do the first Zoom until I think like April 2020. And then I don't think I did another Zoom until like December 2020. But ever since then, I think I like damn near every week I've been on.
Mm-hmm. It's a different viral thing. It's not going viral, but it definitely infects in a hard way. And yeah, it's just what the influences sonically are.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned a lot. Like, I mean, I've said it before in those Zoom sessions, like my stuff wouldn't sound the way it does now if not for, you know, Sidechain. Like, it's not possible. Like, not today. Like, maybe in the future it would have sounded like this, but not today. It wouldn't sound today like it does now, just because of just random tidbits or pieces of information. Or, I mean, there's so many random things that get thrown around that I don't think people know are educational.
Yeah. Does anyone pop to mind in from recent influences other than Sidechain in terms of like sonically? I know you listen to Rashad and Currency, but
I just like the time period more than I think a person. And so for me, it was really like 1995, 96, right? And so I like that, except slower, because one of the things when I got my first turntables that I realized, a lot of that stuff's faster than I thought, you know. It's like 94, like BPM, you know what I mean? Like, I do make some 94 stuff, and most of my stuff is sub 90, you know. Mostly like 80, 83. So now I'm a little bit more 70 stuff, 75, but, you know, so that sound, but like slower. But then I also, I mean, I like music in general, so there's all kinds of influences from everywhere. I like Bonobo, has done some amazing shit. Almost every genre. There's only two genres that I personally do not actively listen to, and that's country and gospel. But like, other than that, there's usually something that, like, oh, okay, yeah. And if you named an artist, I could probably be like, yep, like, that's cool, or I can dig that song, or, I mean, whatever it is, you know.
Just now that you said country, this song by Dow, I don't know if you catched it on Discord. She posted a track 2 days ago, this weekend. Amazing beat, amazing flow, dope bars, made out of a country song. Incredible. I encourage you to give it a listen, because I told him that, like, it would never happen in my universe. You know, I would never be able to produce that heat from
a country,
that material. And it's dope. I'm pretty sure you will enjoy. Like, it's a dope ass beat.
trying to live better, trying to die well, trying to be a shepherd over my health. That's real treasure, money not wealth. I know that though I never had bread, and that's bad, but I had less. And being broke without an address, a mesh bag and some bad breath.
Definitely dope country stuff. It's just getting like sitting through it, right? For me to listen to find the part that I'm going to use is not going to be very enjoyable. And there's some things that I'll sit through that are not enjoyable. You know, there's random things, you know, so there's some jazz, not some jazz, there's a lot of jazz stuff that I'm like, whoa, like, let's, you know, do you guys, I guess, but for me, that's a little bit too much acid. Like, that's, like, you know, there's definitely a groove that I like that's not necessarily erratic, or there's a calmness that I just continually chasing, and there's just this groove. So I do listen to things that are aggressive and, you know, whatever. Like, there's a lot of heavy metal stuff I like. Metallica, Guns N' Roses, one of my favorite bands of all time. The closest I get to country would probably be Fleetwood Mac, but Fleetwood Mac is fucking amazing. They did some crazy shit. I mean, yeah, everything, anything.
Yeah.
Even today, like, I still try to stay like I would say my blind spot today is kind of pop, like whatever the current, like whatever's on the radio right now, I'm not really hip to if it's on the radio. That whatever might be below the surface for that genre I might know about, but whatever's on the radio, I'm probably not going to know. You know what I mean? Like Radiohead, like radio. Nobody plays radio, right? That's like college radio. You don't hear Radiohead like on the radio. Shit. I mean, yeah, anything, everything.
That's dope. And the Ableton is quite a recent addition, right, to the workflow. So you
October.
Oh, since the famous session when everybody got it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I couldn't pass that up. I mean, I was like, there's not gonna be another time. Let me definitely hop on this.
And how do you like? Are there things that you miss in Ableton from that you are very used to from on Maschine, or vice versa?
Just being able to do it all without looking at the screen. I mean, without touching the screen and looking at the screen. So on Maschine, I would use the screen. I'd use my mouse. There's definitely things it's just quicker for me to use my mouse on with Maschine, but I can do a lot of stuff just on the machine. So by not having push, I can't do that. So there's, you know, and then there's just the interfaces are just different enough. So like I find myself trying, like, even like expanding the screen, like zooming in is just a little bit different on Maschine than, you know. And at first when I got to Ableton, I was like, I don't like the way this works. And now I do. Like, you know, you highlight, push up, and it'll expand, zoom in and zoom out. Like Maschine doesn't work like that. So like I'll turn on Maschine and I'll try to do that. It doesn't work, obviously. So like, you know, there's little things, but I do like. I mean, I like the sound of Ableton. Ableton does sound clean, and I like the way I'm able to use the effects, I think, more effectively in Ableton. Definitely the automation is a huge game changer. You can do a lot of cool automation in Maschine, but the fact that you can't copy it, it's not as easy to write automation in Maschine, right? You can't like copy something like automation and then paste it. You can, if it's in the pattern, you can copy the entire pattern and then have that automation in the pattern. but you can't just like copy, oh, I want this 4 bars of automation. And I want you to do that again here in pattern 3 or whatever. You can't do that. And that's something that's bothered the hell out of me since I got Maschine. Because then you could do that in Reason. There's, you can just copy, like, I believe, I haven't used Reason so long, but I believe you could just like copy the automation. Like, this is, I want you to do whatever this is, just do it over here. And Maschine did not allow you to do that. So, and then when being able to do shapes of automation, get the hell out of here. So you don't even have to draw. I mean, you can just, do this little S curve or do a, do a V, do whatever. That is a huge difference.
Run for your guns, me and son coming through. Rock up you and your crew, fuck the boys in blue. This speed walk town around these grounds, they don't roam, cause we send them home with trays of slugs in their dome.
It also sounds like you're huge on automation.
Well, I can appreciate what it does. And a lot of the reason I didn't use it in Maschine is because of what it would have taken to do it. To get it right, like, so a lot of the automation I use is like, if I do like a low pass, if I do something with the filters, like engage and, going either from letting the more or less of a frequency come in, there's a way in Maschine that you can kind of, do it, sync it to the beat. So that's how I would do it, but it kind of worked with the global clock was on the Maschine. And so if you wanted to do it where you have a low pass filter that kind of starts really low and then eventually opens all the way up, if you did that for 8 bars, well, it'll do that. But if you had a 4-bar intro, well, then it's not going to work right for the rest of the song because it's set to that first, beat in Maschine. You can't tell it to engage and start here and then count down the 8 bars, right?
Okay.
So something simple like that, like I had to make beats around that sometimes because trying to do the sweep, in automation and have it actually be uniform would not have been as easy, or to go from, or to just adjust it slightly, just wouldn't have been as easy. So there are definitely a few beats that I made around that issue, just because I knew, like, well, I can't have it do that right there because that's not where the, the 4th bar is or the 8th bar or whatever part it is.
That's absolutely one of, I avoid it altogether on the MP because it's so tedious. And they just recently got a visual part of it done. So previously it was just parameters and you had a list of those things. So I was nope.
So that sounds, that's the Trident LE right there, where you just like, you have to tune it to like, or you tell it to do this and then write it to it basically, right? Yeah, well, yeah, I played those games. The Trident, it was back in the day.
But you still use it? Do you use it?
No, it's not. I have it. It works. I don't use it all the time. No, I think no, I can't remember the last time I've used it. I like some of those sounds. That Trident rack, I guarantee you that's going to be like it's probably going to come back. Oh yeah, the Trident rack. Some of those old school racks are going to come back. There's some sound on there, but no, I do not use it because I used it. It used to be my MIDI controller once, when I got Reason, I kind of just used it as my MIDI controller, and then when I got Maschine, it was still basically like just another MIDI controller. And then I got the complete keyboard and didn't really have room for it anywhere, and it didn't really serve any purpose. I'm not really running audio in it. I was just basically using Maschine sounds. So, and then
convenience,
not really playing as much anymore and just sampling. There's even less and less reason for it.
You do play keys though?
No, not as good as I should, especially since that's the reason why I got the Trident in the first place, was because it had keys, and that was 2001. So yeah, I should be really good at playing keys, but no, I cannot read music and I cannot play keys at all.
Me neither. So, do you have something that you want this year? Like, I'm going to nail drums or keys or something like that.
I think this year I want to actually put something out. I just had to figure out how to go about it. But yeah, I think I actually want to do it just so it's out there and out there.
That part, because you had an active SoundCloud account for a while and then abruptly stopped it. Why did you stop uploading?
Easy. Listen.
Why did I stop? So, oh, okay, yeah. So I'm trying to remember where that was. So 2017, 18, probably. Yeah, I guess I just decided that I was done putting it out there. I didn't really think about it. I just stopped. I didn't think well, part of it was because I don't think people were really using it as much anymore. I wasn't using it as much anymore. But I just kind of stopped posting things there. And I started doing things a little bit more live. Like there was some Facebook things I would do live, or post stuff on Instagram. So like it didn't serve as much purpose.
Okay.
Like I feel like if I'm not using it, then why am I going to put something somewhere where even I'm not engaging with that space?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it wasn't really like this planned out thing. I think it just kind of phased out because I just stopped going to SoundCloud.
But you did pretty much a full year, almost a full year of Sidechain Fridays last year, right? So that was the
like 43, yeah.
Yeah. Why did you? Is there any specific reason why you skipped the November and December? Because they were constant, and then.
Yeah, then the dislike stuff. Yeah. Nope. Right. Well, shit, I think. Yeah, there was one. It was going to be that next one, and the first one in November, because I think the last one before this one I just did was October. It didn't sound right on the phone or coming through. Like for some reason, I use the iRig or whatever to connect and record directly out of either Ableton or whatever, right out of my audio interface. And for some reason, it didn't sound right on the phone through it was, and this has happened on one of my other beats, and I don't know what it is. But there's certain frequencies or something that are not coming through on the phone that are pretty important to me, at least to the track. And so when I didn't hear them on the video, I was like, well, fuck. So it's like, well, I was like, well, I'm not gonna post this because it doesn't sound right to me. And even if it's free and it doesn't matter to anybody else, I was like, I really know how it sounds, right? Like I'm hearing it and that's not how it sounds. So I just didn't do it. And then it became like the holidays were coming up and I was like, all right, well, I have something for this. Then I went to Las Vegas for Thanksgiving. I was like, well, I could have it there. And that was kind of like, fuck it. But I was making stuff. I do have, there's things that I made in that time. Then we did that the Karl Marx thing. So there was that got in there too, and so I was spending time doing that. Yeah, and then the holidays just kind of got me. So yeah, I just did a full did 43. I ended up the year with 43 of them.
I remember our house caught on fire, and I stood there and watched the whole world go up in flames.
Which is very impressive, nonetheless. Having this consistency thing actually is are you strong on this, consistent on being consistent with music, or is it not
I mean,
much of
there's
it?
ebbs and flows, but usually I would say since I had a lull in 2020, from about April to October, maybe September, things just weren't sounding right. Like I would get up here and it wasn't clicking. But since then, it's been pretty consistent. And then before that, just random things. But I would say like now, like and my wife would contest, would agree that up here every day. Like, so I get off work and it's like the first place I come is up here to my area. And even if I'm not like making something, like I'm not saying like I have to make something today, but like every day there's like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours that I'm up here listening to something, playing with whatever I made yesterday, something. And Trident's never going to stop.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't really see what's going to make me change. It's been this way for a while. But, ebbs and flows, like life happens, things happen in life. You're like, oh, well, I got this going on, but we don't have any life events planned, knock on wood. So there's really no reason for this to ever stop.
And in terms of, you just mentioned you would listen to what you did recently. Would you return to older beats to redo or finish them in the first place, or are you more of this, like this is the current thing and then the next?
Yeah, so that mine are, to me, they're all work in progresses, right? And this is another one of those gems. Paulie brought it up when he was like, he doesn't call his beats throwaways, he calls them putaways. And that one kind of stuck with me because I would definitely call beat throwaway beats. And to me, the time I was like, I just took the position like you have to make them. You know what I mean? You got to make throwaways. Like that's just what it is. They're not all going to be great. But I definitely called them throwaways. But looking at it differently and calling them putaways will change the way you look at them. But I mean, I would call them throwaways, but there are definitely times where I would go back and listen to them. And in fact, now there's my friend just putting out some stuff. He's got like some rappers that he's working with, and some of my old beats are out there. And like he's got some guys that want to rap over some of my old stuff. And to me, it's like, oh, these things are just old, like old. Like this is before I didn't get Master Desk until last summer. So they just all sound old to me, but they dig them or whatever, and they want to use them, then we can make it work. But and it is challenging, having made so many, I guess, leaps in knowledge, trying to work with that stuff, right? Because now, though, I do some of those, even though they were old, if somebody wants to rap over it, they want to rap over it the way it is, right? And so you're a little bit more confined in what you can do in those situations. It's different than if I just went back and went like, oh, well, now I don't have to stay within any confines. I can just do whatever I want to this. With somebody that decides or says, oh, that's kind of dope, I'm going to rap over it, or they already have rapped over it. You can't really pull the rug out from under them. It just won't work, because to them that's not the beat that I rapped. You know what I mean? It'd be like if some of the rappers heard, the flips that I do, it'd be like, wait a second, that's not the beat that I rap to. So what is that? I mean, it sounds cool, but that's not the beat that I rap to. Like
getting to terms with the sound. Yeah. I understand where that comes from, like having older stuff, letting older stuff be the way it is and not changing it much.
Right.
You'll
I mean, there's
probably
little
still
tweaks
go.
that I can do. Yeah, but I mean,
Okay.
as far as like, oh, like there's definitely things that I know that I wouldn't do though, right? Like, oh, why did I do that? Or I can't believe this, went out like this. Like some of those I could definitely hear like, man, the volume on this is very low. The overall sonically, this is just not full.
Still quite dope that people pick older stuff, having this affirmation that, because I think as a creator, you yourself are always more critical about, especially about older sound of your music than it actually is in many instances. They are dope. You are just in a very different place, right? You consider you change your mind about certain things.
For sure. Yeah, I plenty of things. Because I mean, it was dope when I made it, right? I was nodding my head to it. I freaking recorded it. I put it out there. I named it. If I named it, I did something. I posted it. So I must have thought something of it at the time. But yeah, definitely hearing it with your new ears, like, well, as dope as it could be, or it should be. But something that I don't really do is I won't really go back and sample something that I've sampled either. So I'm usually one and done with a sample. Could tell you the sample is, but anyway, I was like, why would you do that? Like, that's just like yuck. Like, it was like I had like a bad taste in my mouth. The song was good, but I remember being a 16-year-old and I was like, ew, like that's all eyes on me. You can't just do that. And then I came to realize, I mean, there are no rules to this, and you can definitely sample things because plenty of songs have been sampled over and over and over and over and over again. But yeah, I've just kind of had these little rules that I've stuck with in my head. Like, if I've heard it, you can't do it too, which is stupid, but I kind of take that to heart. And so since I've heard a lot of different things, I feel like there's a lot of things that I can't do.
Okay. I did not understand it the way that you just explained. I thought you wouldn't resample yourself, but you
no, and I mean, yeah, that's true too. That's true too. So taking it, like, if I've heard it out there, somebody do it, I'm not going to do it. And if I've done it, it's not so much that I won't, it's just that it's harder because it's like all I can hear is what I did the first time. Do you know what I mean? So it's not that I had it exactly right the first time or anything, but that's all I'm going to hear. So what are you really doing at this point?
Absolutely. I sometimes even regret flipping a sample back then.
Exactly.
It's such a nice sample. I would so love to flip it right, but it's already in the box. So it's, yeah. I gotta find a similar one.
That part. That's exactly the part that I'm talking about. It's not that you couldn't do it and it'd be a little bit different. I just feel like you'd still just be influenced by what you did the first time. And so I just don't want to be influenced by anything other than like the sample. I don't want to hear, Adlib or anybody else. But what I do appreciate is finding samples that have been used. And so, like, when I stumble on something that's been used organically, like I don't read liner notes like, okay, you sampled. I don't do that. Like when I'm listening and then I hear it, through my travels, I'm like, it gives me like this affirmation, right? Of, oh, okay, well now we're all knocking on the right doors or we're walking down the right roads,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm kind of hearing these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so I have a whole list of songs where it's like, okay, like I know this sample, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I got that whole list going as well. This song where it's like, okay, like, I mean, I don't think it's sample snitching when it's a real album that's out there, but Palm Olive on Freddie Gibbs, that Sylvester song, Cries of a Dreamer. I don't know if you've heard that song. You've heard Palm Olive, though, on Freddie Gibbs' album.
Мы начинаем программу хроникой сегодняшнего заключительного дня пребывания.
Haven't heard it from which album is it?
Just that's the most Bandana, the most recent one. No, not the most recent one. The most recent one's Alfredo, the one with Madlib and Freddie Gibbs. Bandana. Like I stumbled on that sample randomly, probably around it was after the Freddie Gibbs song came out, and now that song like is when I play that song a lot because that's just dope.
And it's Madlib, so that's always a huge accomplishment.
Yeah. Or like when I found Kanye's "Find Your Dreams
Find your dreams come true.
Come True," and I Wonder or whatever, by Labi Sharif or whatever. I mean, it's just when you're finding it was like, oh shit, and then I see what you did there. It's kind of like that whole thing. It's like, oh yeah, like if I would have heard that, I can't say I would have did this, but I definitely would have. I would have thought that, like I would have wanted to sample this too. Yeah, there was another one I just found recently. It was on Vic Spencer's album, and it was a song I liked. I was like, man, if I found that sample, I would have fucking sampled that too. And then when I found out, I was like, yeah, you did basically what I thought you would have done. You did about what I would have done with it, which wasn't much. They basically just looped that shit. I was like, yep, that's basically. Because like when I hear them, like some songs, I'm like, how have I not heard that sample like now? Like, so the ones that I like, and I don't know if you listen to my stuff, there's usually some kind of vocal in it. And sometimes it's drawn out a little bit, like the vocal is that kind of thing. So anytime I hear those things, like when I hear Santorini Grease from Rick Ross on what album was that? I don't know. But when I heard that sample, that one I actually did look up. That one bothered the fuck out of me. I was like, what is this? Because I've never heard this before. And I want to know what this is and how did you do what you did to get there. Another one that I found more recently was Hit Boy on Benny the Butcher's album called Plane Ticket, One Way Ticket with Freddie Gibbs. I found that sample. I was like, okay, I like what you did there. Hit Boy is actually I'm finding there's a lot of stuff that Hit Boy did that I like that I didn't know that he did.
I need to listen to him. It's been mentioned several times now.
Yeah.
I'm not hip.
Same with Cardo too. Cardo did a lot of Wiz Khalifa stuff and other people's stuff. I didn't realize he did a lot of stuff that I like or had his finger in it. And so just when I hear things like, because I still do listen to a lot of hip hop and stuff, when I hear things that I haven't heard the sample, it's intriguing. And then to hear the sample or realize that I have actually heard the sample, I just forgot that I heard the sample. Like, oh, I did know that, because that'll happen too. Your memories are so, not the best. Yeah. To me, I mean, that's all part of the game. It's just like a puzzle. Like somebody was like, oh, they moved that around. They just did this. And it's never like super complicated, right? None of this stuff is. Some of the things that I think are very dope are not very complicated at all.
Not at
Like,
all.
at freaking all. Alchemist has some of the simplest sounding things, but Alchemist is dope. It's dope. It's fuck to me. But like, some of it's just like, that was really simple. But what he's, to me, one of the things he's good at is making a sound continue, like where you can't really hear it break. Like he kind of does it with like drones or drawn out noises. Like you can't hear it loop. I don't know if other people have picked up on that or not, but that's something about Alchemist that I like and have noticed, is that he's able to take like small like drones or horns or something like that, and it'll have it loop in a way where you can't hear it like looping. Because normally, like with a, like a solo sound, you can hear that clip, or you can hear something like, oh, it started over. You know what I mean? And I don't know if it's because it's such a micro chop or just what he's doing, that he's getting it just to stay like continue on like it's a solid one note.
It would be interesting because he's still working with the 2500, if I am correct.
I think so, yeah.
So,
he is MPC too. I'm not sure, but yeah, he does some magical stuff. I mean, simple magical stuff. Harry Fraud does some simple magical stuff. Harry Fraud.
La música de Harry Fraud
does a lot of really. If I could, I would want to be like Harry Fraud. Basically, it's not that what he does is intricate or masterful. He finds some loops to me. They're like, oh, yep. And he just loops that thing. Put some drums on there. He does some EQ. And he'll loop that thing. I'm like, yep. But that shit's dope.
Is it
like, it doesn't have to be intricate for me to necessarily dig it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite a skill to be able to find those loops in the first place and also keep it at this minimal level that it doesn't feel like something simple that you can start with and just stick to that for, it seems like a very long journey when people like Alchemist put out beats, drumless beats that are literally just loops from a record, but with a lot going on. And
I mean, it's just also, I don't know for him if it's work as much as just the experience paying off now. Now you know how to do the trick. And so for him to do it now, I think it wouldn't look like hard work, but it's because of all the hard work, you know what I mean, that he put in.
Exactly. I mean, the accumulation of that work that he put into, probably he's quite fast with his stuff.
Yeah, no, because I've seen videos of him like, what are you, I'm like, wait a second, you can't just. But now I'm starting to see how people can do it faster. I'm watching some of the people in Sidechain, like during some of their live sessions or whatever, where they're cooking. I'm like, okay, I see it now. Like I know now how people are able to do this and get that sound while live, like in watching drums do it, through the Beats and Chill videos and stuff like that.
It's scary. Sometimes it's just scary how fast people are able to cook up and move to the next one. It's like, come on.
Right. Yeah. Like I don't move on to the next. Like, yeah, that's I am impressed with people that can make multiple beats in a day. Like there are very few days where I've made multiple things that I would say like, yeah, this is a beat and I'm going to play this for somebody. Like there are very, very few. And because I name all my beats by what day I made them, I would know each instance where it happened. And there are very few where that's happened.
But you do arrange them out then, though, right? Or do you mean fully arranged beats?
No. I mean, even just 3 like Maschine, you can just have something in one scene, like one scene, even if it was one scene, it was 4 bars, but you push play and it, that if it rides, it rides. I'm just talking like there aren't very many situations where I have 3 of those or multiple of those in a day. Like for me, it's usually I'm gonna sit down, we're gonna come up with something, and we're gonna mess with that for that day. And then, like when I was doing the Sidechain Friday thing, usually on Saturday is when I would start for the following Friday. So that Saturday, that probably would be when I find the sample or whatever and try to start. And then I would just work on it until that Friday, that following Friday. And that would be the day that, I put it out and then start all over on that Saturday. Some days it wouldn't, some days though, it was the Friday, that actual Friday that it came about, or, the Wednesday or whatever. But usually it was start on that Saturday because I'm not churning through multiple beats in a day.
Quite the opposite. It sounds like you take your time with one beat and finesse it over the course of a week even, right? So what's the process there? Do you add layers on different days, or how does that go?
It just depends on how far I get on that the first day. So it'll be, let's say I get the sample, I get the drums like laid out. Then the next day I come back to it. Did I hear a new sample that day? If I did, I might mess with that. Or let me come back to that thing that I was working on before. Let me add something to it. Oh, let me do this. Do I need to do some automation? Okay. Plays pretty cool. All right. Is there an acapella that can go with this? Yes or no? Should I put one on this? Let's play through those and just see what kind of works and what doesn't. That works. And then you just get stuck playing around with that for an hour or two, just fucking around with it, Like, oh, okay, that works. And then add that. Am I gonna make like a visual for this? If I am, then what am I gonna do? So all that. Would go into like the course of a week. So it wasn't like it's never really planned. Like I know, like I kind of knew when it was done, just by like, all right, yeah, that'll be it for that week for Sidechain Friday. Like that's it. The beat itself is ready to go now. If I'm going to do anything for as far as a visual, I need to work on that. So there was some times where I might have spent more time on the visual, like figuring out like what am I going to do with that than the beat, as far as messing with it.
I find your most recent approach where it's just the tiny turntables, the controller is, in my opinion, a nice hack to avoid that trouble altogether. They're very recognizable once you have like 20, 30 of them with those things. It just becomes an image for that Sidechain Friday thing, which is dope. I dig that, and it sounds like a hack to me, which I also very big fan of. And you seem to like is that the purchase of last year? The controller,
Yeah, I mean, I got that. Basically, it was more for the Zoom sessions. I don't know what I was hearing. I guess I was hearing Ableton and not knowing it. But when people would play, I don't know if they were all running it through the SP. Anyway, people would play and they would go from one track to the next track. And I could hear, like, they would drop it on the one. I'm like, how are y'all doing that? Because if you're not, like, if I'm playing that in a Maschine, it doesn't work that way unless I bounce the tracks to the pad, have a session where it's just like various tracks bounce down or whatever. So they're not doing that. What are y'all doing? And then Ochi Usuke had one of his live videos or whatever, and he was just had one of these things. I was like, yo, let me get one of those fucking things, so I can play beats for the session and just do stuff. And then if I ever go live or whatever, and I want to play beats, I'm not like having to like plan out and click. That's not going to be fun. Clicking in iTunes to try to find the beat or whatever. So let me just get this thing. Yeah, so I did. So yeah, I got this thing, and I would say Ableton. Yeah, those were the biggest musical purchases of the year.
And for this year, you're already eyeballing something?
No.
The push.
I feel like, I mean, kind of, but I don't know. I can talk myself out of almost anything. It was like, what am I going to do with it? No, because I'm looking at all my stuff. Like I already have to like move the keyboard if I want to use the turntables. So it's like I get push up here. I'm going to be moving things around. It's like, what am I going to get out of it? Is it going to make it sound better? Is it going to make it, now I'm more concerned about, is it going to sound better? How do I get it to sound full? How do I get it to knock the right way? How do I get it to sound like when you play whatever you're playing on Spotify or whatever you're playing in iTunes, and then you go to this track of mine to sound similar? Not where you have to like, oh, I got to reach for the volume one way or the other, because you were playing my stuff, and then you go to the normal stuff. It's like it's about to blow out your speakers, like trying to avoid that situation.
Okay, so it sounds like the perfect getting the boost out of the sound is something you're looking into. And you said you are going to release this year, which like a project, or are you just going back to releasing the
I don't know
regularly,
because of what I was saying before about the way that I work and how I sample and stuff. Like I don't know. I want to have something out there that's the project that I guess when I'm old, even though I feel old already, they'd be like, yep, that was that. Because I've already done it like so many times. If you've watched some of those videos where I'm actually playing multiple tracks, or even some of the Zoom sessions, like that, I've heard like that Sidechain Friday backwards and forwards, right? In different ways, and it does sound good, but like it doesn't necessarily sound like the same thing. So is there a way to, I already hear a difference, right? Like in fact, I was thinking about going live on the 31st, and actually just running through basically all the beats, not all the beats, but the beats I like that I made over the span of 2021. And I can hear it. Like in one way it's dope because I can hear like the sample, the rabbit hole. Like it's, for me, it's like, yep. Like just going back down it. Like this all connects, and then like there's a point in time where it's like I jump back somewhere. It's like, yep, I remember doing that, and then go right back this way. So, but as far as sonically, I was like, oh, okay, I hear, I hear where I got master desk up. I hear this. I hear, I learned this trick around that time. I hear this up. That's when I thought I knew how to do something, but I didn't do it right. Like, and so going through it, like I can hear that. And so the question is, do I want to try to correct for that with that old stuff, or try to make a whole bunch of new stuff?
How do you feel currently? Where do you tend to go?
I mean, I'm always going to make new stuff anyway. But there are some that I made last year that are like some of my favorites that I've ever made. I made last year. Just personally to me, like, oh yeah, like that is the one for me. And I don't have too many of those in other years. And maybe time will change, maybe in 2025, I'll be like, oh, not all those in 2021 were garbage. But there are some, and they were like, oh, that is exactly what I wanted it to be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously it could have been, well, they all could be better, but as far as I was concerned and able to do, like, yep, that came out right. I mean, when I listen back to them, like, yep, like there's some in April where I was like, well, I don't know what I was on in April, but that one came out right.
Hey yo, 2 words, Chi-Town, Southside, worldwide, cause I rep that chill, I fucking die.
And you're considering just pimping them a little in terms of mastering, or what's like what?
Yeah, I mean, so I would just I guess it's going to depend. Like, I'm not really going to set a date for it, because I do that, that's going to box me in. So I guess I'm just going to kind of see where I am at maybe by the second quarter, see what I have by then, and then put something together. And they'll probably be able to decide then how large, small I want to make it. Do I want to go back? Maybe like I'll decide to do the 2021 thing and have basically the Sidechain Friday thing just kind of be the album, but then running through it like in the order and all that stuff, like, all that stuff kind of plays into my mind, because I do, when I finally do it, and I guess this is just me self-imposing a lot of unnecessary pressure, I do want it to be like good and not just out there. And so the SoundCloud stuff, I felt like I'm just putting that out there. The Sidechain Friday stuff, I was just putting that out there because I needed to put something out there every Friday, right? But an album, a record or whatever, or project, to me, the ones that I like, it's not that there's a concept, but it's cohesive, right? Like, for me, the albums that I like, that one song goes off, I'm expecting this next song, right? I just know. It's like AZ, I don't know if you listen to AZ, but AZ Do or Die album, Uncut Raw is track 2. Uncut Raw goes off, I know that Give Me is gonna come next. Like, and it goes off and it's fading out, like you expect to hear it. If there's like an interlude or whatever, you kind of expect to hear it. You know what I mean? I think that's something that kind of gets lost nowadays with the way we ingest music, through just hearing like this one song from this artist, and then the next one, you lose that cohesiveness. But I still do listen to like albums like as a project, a lot of them. So when I do come out with mine, I would like it to make sense in that way and be like, oh, as a work, as a whole project, this thing is dope, instead of that one track was dope. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm not saying I'm going to make Illmatic or anything like that, but when you look back and look at Illmatic or some albums that you like, it's not the one song, right? It's the 40 minutes, 20 minutes, however many minutes it is on that album that do it.
Definitely.
Like, even the ones that you don't like, even the ones that you skip, like, all right, no, I don't have to skip number 9 or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's cool for the time, whatever it is, but you're gonna skip number 9 now because whatever. Like, for me, it's the popular song that I'll skip. So, like, trying to think of an example, like Jay-Z or whatever, 1996. So Reasonable Doubt, the Mary J. Blige song, Taking All This Time, Can't Knock the Hustle. It's a good song. I skipped Can't Knock the Hustle. So, just because to me, like, played out, it's a dope ass song. Can't Knock the Hustle is dope. but I don't play that song.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I don't play Ain't No Nigga, like the one with Foxy Brown. I skip that one too. That one not as good as Can't Knock the Hustle, but it definitely gets skipped when I'm playing Jay-Z. Now, if I'm just listening to music and randomly either one of those things came on and I'm not listening to to A Reasonable Doubt, then I'll probably just let them play. But if I'm listening to Reasonable Doubt, I'm going to skip the, you know what I mean? So I don't know.
It became part of the ritual of that specific project.
Of that project.
Listening
Right. To me,
experience.
that's how I engage with that project. You know, because it goes from here to here to here. So, saying all that to say, mine would hopefully, I would want it to be one cohesive work like that, not just like some things that I made or whatever. And then how do you tie those together? Because that's another thing that a lot of these producers that I like are real good at, like Alchemist and like Madlib, in going from one track to the next. Alchemist is very good at this. I don't know if you've listened to some of his more recent projects with some rappers, but like some of the Bolty James stuff, like it doesn't really stop. Whether it's just like a quote that he has, that'll go from one song and lead you into the next one. It doesn't. There's not like this song fades out and then this one starts up. It kind of all just works together. I'm not saying it has to be like that, but there are ways, to make it all flow.
I think it's his Freddie Gibbs project, where it's just this, he gets you into the feeling of sitting by the pool with all the soundscapes that he creates. He sets a scene and then the track plays out and then the story happens and then he transitions to another scene. And this is such an interesting effect. I really enjoyed being in that space. And I was thinking like, that is dope. This is not a transition from a song to song, but he pictures a movie. He helps develop this movie in the head with those songs in between, basically. I dig that.
There's
I understand.
one he does it on God, it's the Bo Jack. He's come out with a couple with Boldy James, but it was the one before this most recent one he had, where it's the MP or the SP where he's like clicking on it. It's like ding 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 ding, like you can hear like the clicking, like he's actually like recording from a video. But then we like transition into the actual like ding ding like ding ding na na, and then it's like the actual beat drops. Like, and I was like, yeah, that's dope. But he's coming to that from like a quote from something else, and like the samples kind of playing and like going nowhere, and it's like na na na. I mean, and it works. Recently, I would say he's very good at it. Madlib does something similar. His is a little different. The way he transitions, but that kind of thing, this is what I'm talking about, where you do, I don't want to have like a grand opening or anything like that, because sometimes that shit can get drawn out, especially if the track is dope, where it's like, well, there's all this stuff in the beginning that if it wasn't there, I'd play this track more, because now I have to either fast forward or sit through this. You know what I mean? But there's definitely ways to make it extra dope, and that's what I would want to do, and that is a challenge. So
and I take it this table is
Это чепуха, товарищи.
Kind of one of the hacks to get yourself into this transition mode where you can save sounds to pads, or can't you? Like, how would you?
Oh, like for the like samples, like if I was going to bring in like
For the transition,
Quotes
like say if you have exactly, or would you rather arrange all of this and just save it to?
So I would probably see, that's where it gets like, that's the one thing I don't know what they do. Like, I've always envisioned, like, did you record it as a mixtape? Like, how do you do that? Is it like one whole track that gets laid out? Like, but anyway, I think I would just, I would just assign it for that track, right? And so most likely it'd probably be at the end of the track. And I would, if it was a quote, I would just assign it to a pad and have it come in. And probably because I have these turntable things, I would probably try to work it in here, as a WAV file, because it's a lot easier just to add it in to test it out using these things. And then once I got it, just have it be part of the track, either in Maschine or in Ableton.
Eager to see.
I do know a lot of movie quotes and stuff. There's a lot of, I'm a child of the American pop cultural system. Like, I've got movie quotes, hip hop quotes all in my head. And so it's just about using the right ones, getting them to fit right.
So you
doing kind of
already
what
know.
Nehemiah does, because Nehemiah does that kind of stuff too. He's real good at like creating or using dialogue.
Sounds, everything that is kind of supposed to be stored in the head sounds very challenging to me, because I feel like I completely untrained memory. I rely so much on recordings and notes and offloading stuff that it's, I wouldn't even know like that I asked the question already or something.
No, really?
Stuff
Yes.
like that.
I'm the opposite. I don't really write things down too often. I've just watched some movies a lot of times, and so I hear something and we can just start going down that quote in that movie, or quoting that song or whatever.
So do you memorize? Do you have like reps memorized as well from the artists that you listen to?
Yeah, I mean, not to the point where I would just be able to start it and do the whole thing, but if they're doing it too, like if I hear it, then then it's like go time for the most part. Not gonna know every word, but a lot. And even now, like, I'll look up some lyrics. Spotify now actually will show you lyrics for some songs. Like, there's things I'm learning. I learned there was a Adlib in Human Nature, Michael Jackson's Human Nature, that I never knew was there ever until this week. Ever. And it's Human Nature for Michael Jackson. I was born in 1980. So I've heard Human Nature is like one of my favorite Michael Jackson songs. So I've heard Human Nature a lot. But until this week, there's this Adlib where he says, and she, God, he keeps him around. She keeps him around to keep him around. God, something like that. What is it? Something to that effect. And I'd never heard. It's during the why. There's this other Adlib in there that I never heard until this week, or noticed. Like, obviously heard it, but until I saw it in print, I was like, "Is that really being said right now?" And I had to listen to it a couple times. Like, that is, I don't know what I thought he was saying. And I would challenge almost anybody to tell me what Michael Jackson was saying right there without knowing those lyrics, because I don't think anybody knew. She's keeping him by keeping him around, is what he says. And I'm just like, wow. Human Nature.
They hid it for many, many years.
He fucking hid it.
40 years later,
40 years later, I'm hearing this
time capsule.
Well, I mean, just let you know how dope and stuff Michael Jackson was. Then you would just put it in, because it's not during every hook either. It's only like during the second and then the third one, and it only happens like twice. I don't know. I don't know what I thought he was just doing, like random little, like Michael Jackson noises. But no, he's actually saying some words right there. So little things like that. You think you know the words to human nature, but you don't. So, but if I like it, if I like it, I like it, and I'll listen to it again. And so because of that, I do tend to learn lyrics and stuff like that.
I definitely need to do more of that. Just to
and I just want to know what they're saying, right? Because I have to cut you up because I like it. It's like, well, if I like it and somebody was to challenge me, because I grew up in the 80s, so rap was looked down upon for a large part of my life, you know what I mean? And so there's some defending it that you have to do. So like, did you hear what they said about right there? It's like, well, yeah, no, I need to know what it was that they said. So if I would need to defend them, should I take on that task or whatever, I know what I'm doing.
That's an interesting reason for that. I never thought about this in that key. That's interesting.
Or just knowing, it's just about knowing what you like, right? Because like if I like something and I just want to know what about it, right? Like, well, what am I liking? What do I like about this? And it's a song, so part of it's the lyrics. I was never one of those people that, even though I make beats, I was never those people like, well, I just like it because of the beat. Like that really wasn't me. And this goes back to what I was saying about not really making drums well or being able to like do bass lines, because that's not what I heard. Really, all I heard was like the lyrics and like the lead and the melody. So like that's what I was focusing on.
Yeah, no, I mean, in hip hop specifically, its lyrics are pivotal. They're central part of the whole thing is the message. I struggle with most of hip hop for that specific reason that I like the MF doom vibes that are I like it when people are either very deep in the message itself, like super deep, or when they do crazy things to the language. And so those two things need to happen for me to I then need to read it, because I can't understand what people are saying in hip hop specifically. I need to read it several times to understand. Okay, I get it now. So therefore,
for me, it was just me listening to hip hop in my headphones, right, in my bedroom, right, until I then I moved to Atlanta, and now I'm out and about. And there's a lot more people like me, and they're playing this music, and I'm hearing things out and about that I only thought I listened to, like out in public now. You know what I mean? And so because of that, that's when I did start listening to more stuff that I didn't previously listen to. Like I did start listening to some of this southern stuff, like the Cash Money stuff, like that I wouldn't have listened to had I stayed in North Carolina, or at least who knows what it would have taken for me to start, pivoting to that. It was because I moved to Atlanta and just saw kind of in an action, I think, where I was like, okay, it's a whole thing, it's a whole like vibe and stuff. And so that's kind of how I got appreciation for it. Now, like shit, Juvenile's not my favorite rapper, but I'll bump G Code hard as hell. There's like a lot of stuff that I wouldn't normally listen to that I will now. And I'll also go back in time, so I will listen to things that I would have missed because of like I didn't listen to that kind of music at that time, where I will actively go back and like, let me listen to this whole thing and hear what this sounds like. And I still try to do that now, even for when I'm listening to music. I'm like, let me listen to this whole album, just this whole album. And let me just go through it. Does it still hold up? Okay, that one does. This one doesn't. Like, damn, that's weird.
Get me actually excited. I need to listen to albums, to a few of them. Haven't done it in a while.
Exactly. See, try it. Like there was a day, like, I have about an hour commute total round trip. So I can pretty much get through an album. And a couple of days in November, I was like, let me just run with this and listen to this from start to finish. All right. You just get like, when was the last time I did that, for certain albums? Like, man, it wouldn't have been the whole thing. Cause, like I said before, like there's tracks I would skip. So I even like the skips I would skip, I just listen to the whole thing. Like, okay. So like, I haven't done this since I probably first bought this album or something.
Oh, I even know which Illogic's vinyl and Crip's Pirata. These are the recent albums that I listened to as albums that I.
You got a record contract?
Not yet. You the cool for the bus if you show me some trust.
From last year, we just have probably the sidechain missions, right? Like, what was the most successful thing that you accomplished in musical terms last year?
I would say probably coming out with the 43, actually coming out with the Sidechain Friday, making 43. So ending up with 43 minutes of new material. In previous years, I don't think I would have had the caliber of work. That 43 minutes wouldn't sound like that. It would probably be one beat playing for a lot longer in order to get to 43 minutes. And having out of those 43, they all weren't great, but there was some. So for this year, what I would like to do is have just a higher percentage of those 43 be ones that I really like. So I don't really care about necessarily making more than the 43 or 52 or whatever, but just having a higher percentage of them be of the caliber that I want them to be at.
How is that with Crip? We discussed this with Crip that no matter what he tries to do and to accomplish, there is always almost a fixed percentage of the overall output that he likes and that he accomplishes in turn. Like, he knows he will have a couple of great ones by making us, from the 10, 2 will be cool. Is it how is it with you? Are you trying to make like every single one count, or get the overall output into the area of like, I like really the majority of them? Or
I would like them. I would like to not have to think about it, and just for them just to be. If I make 43 again this year, and let's say that in 2021, 15 of them were top tier, then I would like for 20 of them to be top tier this year. I don't want to necessarily have to make more to get there, though. I don't want to have to increase the output to get to the 20. I would rather just have the 20 be just the ones that are better, just have more of them be better. And I think it's possible, just because there were some spurts in 2021 or some weeks where I was like, oh, okay, well, it looks like I was on a roll here. But I don't know. We'll see, what happens. Because like I said, I don't really think about much when I do this. So I kind of just come up here, open Spotify, and kind of go from there. Like, what did I like this week or today or whatever? Like, where am I going? And then just go there. Like, it's unless I'm coming back to work on something from the previous day, then when I sit down, then it's going to be something new, and I have no idea what it's going to be.
Yeah.
So I think I'm a little quicker to stop making things that I don't like, and giving myself more options, I guess, to actually make something that I do like.
Can you put, or what would be your advice in terms of production, like to reassure someone or to get someone into a positive space?
I guess know what you're doing it for. Everybody, it's different for everybody. So you got to know what you're doing it for. And since I'm not doing it for work, and I don't want it to ever be work, then I have a lot more freedom, I think, to treat it the way I do. But know what you're doing it for, because then you can set your expectations based on that. And so you have to know that first, to me. So for me, I just want to make dope stuff. So just keep going. I mean, if you like it and it's something that you like doing, then you're going to keep doing it. That's one of the realizations I had last year, was no matter what, I kind of come back to making music. Something brings me up here to do this. Something makes me look at and listen to these things. I'm drawn to it. So once I realized that, I kind of let go and just do it. And because I'm older and it's not a job for me, it is that freedom where it's just, nothing's going to happen if I don't come up here and make beats. My life won't, change as far as, from the outside. I'll be able to do everything I do now. But my life is definitely better because I do this. I feel my life is better because I do this. So that's why I do it. Just know why you're doing it. That's the best advice I can have for anybody making music, or basically doing freaking anything, is have an understanding and appreciation for why you're doing it, because then you can do it to the level that it needs to be done.
Yeah, that's
because it doesn't necessarily mean to be the best, right? If you just because you know why you're doing something doesn't mean, right, it has to be the best. But you'll know when it does need to be the best and when it doesn't, once you know why you're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you think of a mistake that you would like people to avoid in this context?
Yeah. Don't expect anybody else to, I guess, don't put any expectations on feedback or how other people are going to view what you do. You got to be prepared that nobody's going to care. I mean,
I've completely, no, we're on the same page here. I think that's fundamental.
Yeah.
It's this.
And that kind of all comes back to, and then you know why you're doing it, because you're doing it because you want people to care. I mean, it's all this whole cycle. And so if you know why you're doing stuff, then everything can fall into place. If you're just out here just doing stuff to just do stuff, then you don't know why and which way is up, because things are now just happening.
Full seal of approval on this one. Yeah, definitely. I feel that. Oh, actually, a fun one that we should definitely do is the annoyance question of things that annoy you about. Is there something recent going on in the beat community that annoys you, or just like where you hate people do it and you don't know why?
No, I don't think there is anything that where I'm like, that's annoying. I mean, I guess depends if you're in the space, like when before Sidechain, just being inundated with listen to my shit, listen to this, listen to this, listen to this, listen to this. That's annoying. But I understand it. I completely understand it, right? Because kind of gets back to what I was talking about before. Like, you're making music because it's audible, so the expectation is that other people hear it, right? But that, and then wanting to be considerate, because when you do make stuff, it's like, well, if I was to post something, wouldn't I want somebody to listen to it and stuff? So, you can't be the guy that post stuff but then doesn't listen to things and then wonder why nobody's listening to your stuff, right? Because that would just it's like, because they're all just like you, right? So yeah, I wouldn't say that there's anything that really annoys me about what people do. I think it was more just a side effect of where we're at now, where there is just so much content out there. And, you have to be selective, which is really amazing. Like, when you think about the fact that you listen, I've thought about this a couple times, that you'll go back and listen to something that you listened to before, or watch something that you've already watched before, knowing that there's something out there that is brand new. But you'll go back and watch and listen, knowing that you can't watch and listen to everything that's ever been created. Like, we're at that part and point, right, where you couldn't, if you wanted to, listen and or watch everything that's ever been created, right? You just can't do it. You don't have the means to do it. So to then allocate your time to something that you have listened to and watched before, to me, is, I guess, that means a lot, I guess, that you would do that. And I guess you could say that ignorance is bliss, because you're only going to listen to what you know about, but there's so much out there now.
Lasting message you want to get out?
No, I mean, there's nothing major I got to say. Sidechain is the gang. I definitely appreciate what they have brought to the table and what they do. Everybody in the group is taught me something, whether or not they know it or not. Shout outs to the general of it all for putting this thing together. And appreciate you. I mean, I imagine, who knows what's the way Sidechain is going, and the caliber of material that comes out of there just randomly, that we've been privy to. Like, when this is all said and done and there's a compilation of all the fire that is Sidechain, when somebody like curates it all and finally puts it out there, this might actually be part of that history. And so it'll be very interesting to see, man, all this in retrospect, 20 years from now.
That's the idea.
Sidechain could be like the controllers of the musical universe, and we'll be looking back at these videos like, well, they were fucking around. Talking about annoying fucking plugins and shit, and now these guys are damn near running the fucking, can't do anything with music without these sidechain motherfuckers. We don't even use sidechain anymore. It's fucking whatever, compression or something.
Yep. And Sidechain runs the regular bundle of plugins every Black Friday. The easy button is in there for the mix. Definitely, yeah. Thank you a lot.
Thank you.
You have a great evening.
Likewise.
I'll see you on Thursday.
I'll be there.
Right. Peace out.
Say the name, I cream that pussy like a bagel. You know how to play ghost, and a little delay low. Names never say those. Your girl and Giuseppe's on Quavo, dancing on top of tables. I'm finna pick 6 like 22